Well, here we are, December 20th, winter solstice. Shortest day of the year for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Start of winter. Maybe a good excuse to stay cozy inside. But it always feels like there's something more to it, right? Something kind of ancient and mysterious.
It really is fascinating how this simple astronomical event, it's resonated with humanity for millennia. I mean, the winter solstice, it's way more than just a date on the calendar.
Yeah, definitely. So today we are going to take a deep dive into that, explore the origins and traditions of winter solstice celebrations all around the world. And we've got some great sources to help guide us, including this article on Spiriton.hu about the solstice's place in ancient religions. It's amazing how this one day is celebrated in so many different ways, but also with some surprisingly common threads.
That's because at its core, you see, the winter solstice is this universal experience. It's that point where the Earth's it takes the northern hemisphere farthest from the sun,
Yeah.
and that's what creates the shortest day and the longest night of the year.
Okay, so that's the science of it, but I'm guessing there's a lot more to it than just planetary tilt.
Absolutely. Symbolically, the solstice, it represents this triumph of light over darkness. It's the promise of rebirth, after this period of death or dormancy. And these themes, they're echoed in cultures all over the world.
Death and rebirth, yeah, heavy stuff. No wonder the solstice has always felt so significant.
It really makes you think about how deeply connected, our ancestors were to the rhythms of nature. And speaking of rebirth, this ties into some fascinating claims about a holiday we might think we know pretty well, Christmas.
Wait, Christmas, what does that have to do with ancient solstice celebrations?
Well, this article suggests that some of our beloved Christmas traditions, they might actually have their roots in pagan celebrations of the winter solstice. It's possible that early Christians, they might have strategically layered these existing traditions onto the celebration of Jesus's birth.
That's interesting. So you're saying Christmas, it might not be as purely Christian as we often think.
It's more about this blending of traditions you see over time. So
Yeah.
think about it. The birth of Mithras, he was the Roman sun god, was celebrated on December 25th, long before Christmas. And Emperor Constantine, well, he was one who made Christianity the official religion of Rome. He played a key role in merging these Mithraic and Christian traditions.
So basically, Constantine saw a chance to make Christianity more appealing by aligning it with a popular existing holiday. Clever.
It's a fascinating example of how cultural and religious practices they evolve and intertwine throughout history.
This is making me see Christmas in a whole new light. Speaking of cultural connections, the article also highlights some interesting linguistic links between different words for Christmas. For example, the Hungarian word Karachuny and some Slavic words like Karachuny.
It's fascinating. Some scholars they believe these words. Well, they have a Turkish origin, meaning darkness passing. The idea is that this word, it's spread across various cultures, even influencing the Romanian word for Christmas, Christian.
So the word itself, Karachuny, it might be a linguistic echo of ancient Turkish, meaning darkness passing, shows how these ideas traveled across cultures. But even experts debate the exact origins, right?
Fascinating. It really highlights how interconnected our world has always been. But as with any good deep dive, there's always another layer to uncover. The article mentions that not all linguists agree with the Turkish origin theory. Some suggest Slavic or Latin roots for these words.
That makes sense. There are always multiple perspectives and interpretations to consider, especially when digging into history and language. But what's cool is that the word itself, no matter where it comes from, it embodies this idea of darkness giving way to light.
Precisely. And speaking of light emerging from darkness, the article mentions this fascinating Slavic deity connected to the winter solstice, Karachuny.
Okay, tell me more about this Karachuny character. What role did they play in Slavic solstice celebrations?
Karachuny represents the peak of darkness and death during the winter solstice. In Slavic mythology, this wasn't always a purely positive concept. There was this real sense of fear and uncertainty surrounding this time of year. The return of the sun, it wasn't a given. It was something our ancestors they had to actively participate in through rituals and offerings.
Wow, that puts a whole new spin on the return of the light concept. It wasn't just a celebration. It was almost like a battle against the forces of darkness.
You're exactly right. The winter solstice, it was a time when ancient people, they grappled with their deepest fears and hopes, seeking to ensure the survival of their communities and the world itself.
Speaking of global traditions, the article mentions a few others that sound incredible, like the Persian Yalda night
Wow.
and the Slavic celebration of Dazbog, the sun god. Let's jump over to Persia and learn more about Yalda night. I'm curious, what did they do to celebrate?
Well, imagine families gathering together on the longest night of the year, sharing poetry and feasting on red fruits, symbolizing the dawn. Yalda night, it celebrates Mithra's victory over darkness.
It's amazing how these traditions, even from completely different parts of the world, they all share this core theme of light overcoming darkness. It makes you realize how much we all have in common, regardless of our cultural backgrounds.
Absolutely, and it's a reminder that even though we've modernized so much, these ancient threads are still woven into the fabric of our holidays.
Okay, we've touched on some amazing traditions so far, but I know there's one we haven't explored yet, Yule.
Yeah.
It's probably the one most people associate with the winter solstice, especially with its iconic Yule log.
Ah, yes, Yule, a fascinating tradition with deep roots in Norse and Germanic cultures. But before we delve into Yule, we need to take a moment to consider another fascinating aspect of the winter solstice.
Okay, so before we get to Yule, you mentioned another fascinating aspect of the winter solstice. What did you have in mind?
Well, remember how we talked about the winter solstice being a time when the veil between worlds was thin? This idea it pops up in various cultures, and it's particularly prominent in some modern spiritual interpretations of the solstice.
Right. The article mentioned something called the Stellarian or Age of the Starman. Sounded pretty out there. What exactly is that about?
It's interesting how even today people find new ways to connect with the solstice, drawing on ancient ideas but giving them a modern twist. And the Stellarian is a great example of this. It's this concept that focuses on cosmic consciousness and enlightenment,
Yeah.
often tied to the winter solstice as a time of spiritual awakening.
So it's like a modern take on those ancient beliefs about the veil between worlds being thin.
Exactly. Modern spiritual practices like meditation and light ceremonies during the solstice, well, they can be seen as ways of tapping into this heightened energy and connecting with a deeper sense of purpose.
That makes sense. It's fascinating how these ancient ideas they continue to resonate with us even in our modern world. But I'm still really curious about Yule. What can you tell me about how the Norse and Germanic people celebrated the solstice?
Yule was a time for both celebration and introspection. The article explains how it was a time for feasting, storytelling, and strengthening social bonds. Vikings, for example, well, they would use Yule as an opportunity to make alliances, to swear oaths, and solidify their communities.
So kind of like a combination of Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve, except with more meat, I'm guessing.
You got it. But it wasn't all just feasting and merriment. Remember, for the Vikings, Yule was also a time when the boundary between the worlds, well, it was blurred. This is where we get those stories about the wild hunt.
Oh yeah, the Wild Hunt sounds pretty intense. Remind me what exactly is that all about?
Imagine Odin, this powerful Norse god leading a ghostly procession of warriors and hounds across the sky. That's the Wild Hunt.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. It was believed that during Yule, well, Odin would lead this spectral hunt, gathering the souls of the dead and dispensing justice upon the living.
That sounds both terrifying and kind of awesome. So Yule for the Vikings, it wasn't just about celebrating, it was also about facing the mysteries of life and death, acknowledging the power of the gods, and maybe making sure you were on Odin's good side.
Exactly. It was a time to reflect on the past year, prepare for the challenges ahead, and acknowledge the forces both seen and unseen, that shaped their lives.
Seems like every culture we've talked about, from the Romans to the Slavs to the Vikings, they viewed the winter solstice as a time to confront those big existential questions.
That's a brilliant observation, and it speaks to the enduring power of the solstice. It's not just about the shortest day. It's about confronting the darkness, both literal and metaphorical, and finding hope in the promise of returning light.
And that promise of returning light is something that seems to resonate across cultures, even today. It's like this universal human need to believe that even in the darkest times, there's always this chance for renewal, for a fresh start.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that's reflected in so many of the winter solstice traditions we've explored. The birth of Mithras, the triumph of Dazbog, the burning Yule log, the Persian celebration of Yelda Night with its vibrant red fruits symbolizing the dawn.
Now, you might be wondering, how does all this ancient stuff relate to me today? It's easy to think of these traditions as relics of the past, but maybe they have something to teach us about how to approach the winter season, even in our modern world.
And it's a great point. Perhaps the winter solstice offers us this opportunity to reflect on what personal meaning we find in this time of year, regardless of our cultural background or belief system.
So what darkness do we need to confront in our own lives? What light do we need to nurture within ourselves? And what new beginnings might we embrace as the days slowly start to lengthen again?
Those are powerful questions to consider. And as we move towards the end of our deep dive, perhaps we can think about some of the practical ways we can connect with the spirit of the winter solstice today.
So we've explored these ancient solstice traditions from all over the world, but how can we connect with that spirit of the solstice in our modern lives?
Yeah, it's not about recreating the past,
Yeah.
but rather about finding those echoes of meaning, the ones that resonate with us today.
You know what? I've always loved bringing an evergreen tree,
Yeah.
into my home for the holidays, but I never really thought about the deeper meaning behind it.
It really is fascinating how something as simple as a tree can hold so much symbolism. The evergreen with its ability to stay green, stay vibrant all throughout the winter. It represents life enduring even in the darkest, coldest months.
So it's not just about decoration. It's about bringing a symbol of hope, of resilience into our homes during this time when nature seems to be dormant.
Exactly. It's a visual reminder that spring will return, that life will triumph over death, that light will overcome darkness.
And it's not just the tree itself. We adorn it with lights symbolizing the returning sun. Ornaments often in shapes of fruits and stars representing abundance and the cosmos. Even the act of gathering around the tree with loved ones. It reinforces our social bonds. During this time when staying connected, well, it was essential for survival.
So even something as familiar as our Christmas tree, well, it becomes this kind of time capsule full of these ancient symbols.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm looking at my Christmas tree in a whole new light now. It's like a mini museum of ancient symbolism.
And that's the beauty of it. These traditions they've evolved over time, but their core meanings, they haven't disappeared. They're still there, embedded in our rituals, even if we're not consciously aware of them.
So maybe it's about being more mindful during the holidays, thinking about the symbolism, of the tree, the lights, the act of gathering together, and maybe taking a moment to appreciate the longer nights, the quiet stillness of winter, and the promise of renewal that lies ahead.
Beautifully put. It's about finding those moments of reflection amidst the hustle and bustle, connecting with that ancient spark of wonder that drew our ancestors to celebrate the winter solstice in the first place.
It's been an incredible journey exploring these ancient traditions. I feel like I have this whole new appreciation for the winter solstice and what it represents.
I'm so glad to hear that. And as we approach the shortest day of the year, Let's remember that it's not just about darkness. It's about the promise of returning light, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
That's a beautiful thought to carry with us as we head into the winter season. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's definitely given me a lot to think about.
It's been my pleasure. May your winter solstice be filled with warmth, with reflection and the hopeful anticipation of brighter days to come.